welcome this morning. I am Amy Wheelus, and I am privileged to serve as the chair of the Tech Titans Board of Directors this year. And welcome to our Tech Titans team engagement experience call. I'm going to ask that if you are not speaking, not one of the panelists, would you please mute your mics so that we can get rid of some of the background noise and it'll help us all. If there's a chat capability in the WebEx, please use that to ask questions. We'll have some Q&A time at the end. What we're going to do today is I'm going to kick us off and just talk a little bit about what Tech Titans is. And then I'll introduce our panelists, and we've got some material to talk to you about what Tech Titans does and some of our committees and how you can get engaged. We have a very active board membership and a very active forums and committee structure that could always use more people with new ideas and energy to infuse there. So for those of you, I'm assuming most of you know what Tech Titans is, or you wouldn't be on this call, but you're wanting more information about it. We are a forum that leverages the regional technology community to collaborate, share, and inspire creative thinking to fuel tomorrow's innovation. Now, yeah, that's a marketing pitch for sure, but it really is what we're about. We're about promoting technology and the technology ecosystem within the North Texas area, within our region. One of the great things that has happened as part of the pandemic, and yeah, I said a great thing that's happened as part of the pandemic, because I do believe that there are good things that have come out of it, and that's what I'm clinging to, is the goodness that's come out of it, and that is we've been able to accelerate our ability to utilize virtual technology such as this to be able to have greater reach and give people time back in their day. Because if we went back 2 years and we were having something like this, we would have probably all had to get up very early, get dressed, drive somewhere, and then, have time afterwards to drive back to our office to do whatever, our next part of our day was. And now we have the ability to do these and move from virtual event to virtual event, and also reach a greater area. I've been involved with Tech Titans now for about 5 years. I moved to Dallas about 6 years ago. I work for AT&T. I lead our architecture for our consumer software technologies. And when I moved to Dallas, I was looking for a place to get engaged and to meet other people within the Dallas and North Texas community. And so Tech Titans became that vehicle for me, and I've been privileged to be able to be a part of it. I've served on the Innovation Committee and on the Executive Committee now for the last few years, and now as board chair. I want to introduce our panel because you're here to hear from them and not just hear from me. Deb Sawyer is the director for the Dubrov Group, and she leads our programs committee. Stacy Hyatt is founder for SL Partners and SACL. Sorry, Stacy, I'm having a hard time getting that out this morning. And she's been a member and been involved and active in Tech Titans for a while. Bill Cockrell is Director of Business Development at Revive, and Karthik Subramanian is the Executive Director at Palo Alto Networks. They've all had varied and different experiences within Tech Titans and places where they've plugged in, and so I'm looking forward to hearing from them. We're going to start with Deb as she kind of gives us an overview of the forums and programs and places where you might be able to plug in.
Thank you, Amy. Andrea, could you pull up the slide with all of the forums? Could you go back to just the slide with the forums?
Go ahead, Deb. I'll pull it back up.
Okay, all right. We have a number of places that people can plug into. We've got our forums. There are 9 of them, and when they pop up, we'll go through them. And then on the program side of the house, we have everything from our tech industry lunch, the innovation, collider series we have going on, advocacy, golf tournament, and then our STEM programs. So here you can see our various forums. We're recruiting volunteers for across the board. We need members to fill the committees, and we need committee leaders. So each committee and forum is made up of, we call them a tri-chair, so that's easy to say, 3 chairs. There's a lead chair, a secondary, and sort of the nouveau guy who is getting trained. And then the members. The agenda for the meetings commitments are 1 hour per month for every committee that you belong to, except for golf, and that's not a year-long committee meeting. And the committee structures, we have the 3 chairs, they set the agenda for the meetings. And then the committee is there to help determine what do we want to do for our next program. So we really look to the committee members to help us program what the lunch is going to be, what the forum event is going to be, and also then help us if we need to get sponsors around anything. It is a great way to reach out and be part of your larger tech community. Being able to call on executives across North Texas, or now even across North America or other places, to participate in one of our events just helps you extend your network. I can't tell you enough of how spectacular that part of being a member of committee is. If you're in a BD role, this is where you want to be. You want to be a part of a committee that, and you're going to sign up to help program those. The events that we're asked you to go to, which if you're part of a committee, we want you to be at the events, and that can be anywhere from 4 to 6 events a year with the forums. With the tech industry lunch, we typically program 10 out of the 12 months. The gala, of course, is once a year, but there's a lot of events that lead up to the gala, especially when we're in real life, and so we'd want you to be a part of those. And the golf tournament is just one all-day tournament a year. We do have this new hashtag Tech Tuesday. It's a new branding that we are trying to ingrain in everybody, that on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month, there will be at least one forums event that has been programmed. And we're also working very hard with the forums that they are working with other forums to produce joint events. So we've got a lot of fantastic things. If you haven't been to the techtitans.org website lately to see what we have on. And then there's the innovation series, and that's an ongoing series. It's free. In fact, all of our programming right now is at no cost to our members. It's $10 for non-members. And we just ask that if you make a reservation, that please show up. But the innovation series, I'll let some other folks talk about it, but it's an ongoing monthly series that you can watch live, or it's been recorded. You can see it later. And we also are doing our big grand challenge, a Connect 5G grand challenge this year, and another place for you to plug in. Last year we were able to get Mark Cuban. Amy, are we going to have Mark again for the judging? Okay. So it's you're going to be recruiting, not only the folks that come and present their wares and talk about it, but also the judges, and it's a Shark Tank-like judging committee. And then there is STEM and the Tech Titans Expo. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I will hand it back over to Amy.
Thanks, Deb. I appreciate that. And in answer to your question, we're not sure yet. We're
Okay.
not sure if we're going to get Mark or not. So we're still working on our judges and looking forward to that program. So let's start off our panel. I'm going to start with Stacy. Stacy, what has your experience and journey been with Tech Titans? Tell us a little bit about your participation with Tech Titans teams and committees and that journey.
Thanks, Amy. Mine's been pretty interesting. I was involved several years back with the Tech Titans, right when it was evolving. Some of you that are newer might not know that prior to being called the Tech Titans, this group was actually called the Metroplex Technology Business Council and was largely a membership of very large telecom companies. And the group decided, hey, we need to become more relevant. We need to evolve with the times. And there's a lot happening in Dallas, and we want to really support it. So they looked at how they wanted to change. They wanted to work with smaller companies than just the giants. They wanted to be more inclusive, really have their pulse on what was happening in the community, more entrepreneurial. They wanted to get younger people involved. The Metroplex Technology Business Council was a little bit like it sounded at that time, a little bit stodgy. Had, large company, older executives, almost entirely male at that time as well. And they said, we need more diversity in the group. We need smaller companies. We need to start to get our fingers into other specific technology arenas. Many of the forums that you heard Deb present today, came out of that. Health tech happens to be one of them, and that's where I come from. And I had the opportunity to, I was approached to join the group and explained what their mission was. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't think they were going to be able to do it. I thought, this is one big ship that's going to have a tough time turning. And I said, all right, I'll give it a shot though, right? Fair shot. They said, you represent several things that we need. We need younger people, even more younger people. We need more women. We need smaller organizations, and we need more specific technology beyond just the telecom base for a lot of tech. And so I said, all right, we'll give it a shot. And I was really amazed. So the Tech Titans was really impressive to me. They meant it. Within a year and a half, we had actually gone through the whole process of redefining what the mission was going to be, rewriting what we were and what we intended to be, redefine the whole membership platform, and even being a newbie, not one of the historical members of this group, I ended up getting invited onto the task force for defining what we were going to be in the future. Got invited onto the board nominations committee to help find more of these people that represented more of what we wanted to be. And they did it. So one of the things I would love to share with all of you, especially if you were newer to the organization, is one thing that Tech Titans is all about is evolving, staying current, and actually doing what they say. That is not often the case, especially in industry associations. It is very hard to move on a dime. And this group puts their mind to it, and they get it done. So when you have ideas, when you have things to contribute, there are people that are actually listening and then they act on it too. So it's really been fun to be a part of this. I then got a chance to be one of the founding members of the Health Technology Forum that we actually have our programming through the entire year, all the way into October, already planned for this year. So we are thrilled. We have a great committee working on some of these things. And the experience with the Tech Titans has been absolutely amazing from that organizational perspective of these are good people that want to be current, that want to evolve. They are not stuck in any kind of quicksand. They want to be the top of what is relevant, and they do it. So from that standpoint, I think that's really exciting, and the reason I have stayed a part of this organization ever since.
Thanks, Stacy. Appreciate those words and sharing your experience there. There was a question that came up in the chat, and Deb answered it in the chat, but I'm going to ask Deb, would you answer the question about the difference between forum and team live for us?
Yeah, sure. So we have basically, if you look at underneath programs committee as a whole, you have forums, and then we have what we call programs. Forums are our special interest groups, like Stacy brought up health tech. There's an AI one that Bill will talk about in a second. And then there are the programs. There's a tech industry lunch, the gala, the STEM, Collider, those pieces, the golf tournament. Whether you are on a program side or you're on the forum side, we need team members regardless. We need team members. So a team member can go across those. We have some team members that are active in our forums. They're also active in some of the other programs. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Deb. So, Bill, you're our representative on the panel from an emerging technology startup area. Can you give us your perspective on how Tech Titans is valuable to your company and that segment of our industry?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that, Amy. So I guess really to start, in my personal case, it kept me from getting fired really early, really quick, because when I first made the move into the startup space, I'd been a couple of decades in semiconductor. And so when I saw IoT and machine learning and data science all becoming much more cross-industry applications, I saw a tremendous opportunity to go make a move and start pursuing the startup space, which I'd always wanted to do. Of course, the challenge was I had all kinds of semiconductor contacts, and I didn't know anybody in telecom, oil and gas, manufacturing, automotive, et cetera, and so forth. And so Tech Titans, I had gotten on, it would have been at the time MTBC's emailing list, and I remembered that and dug up some emails when I first made that move and just started attending. And I can't recall, I think by that time it was probably Tech Titans. So it was a big help from there. But I think looking at less of a micro and more of a macro perspective on it, it's a tremendous opportunity for companies like mine and also larger companies to kind of find and get to know each other. And for larger companies to kind of see these emerging technologies and companies like mine that's out there without having to go through somebody cold called me and am I going to bring this person in? They just show up at an event and we all get to know each other and we have kind of a casual conversation and you figure out, hey, should I introduce my company, a broader audience at my company and do a drill down? So it's good for companies like mine to get that exposure, and it's good for the larger companies to really kind of see what's out there. And also, I think as I look at it, just on a larger company to larger company perspective, you've got companies like State Farm and AT&T and Lockheed and Toyota, whomever. You've got people doing very similar jobs in each of those companies, and unless you've got kids going to school together, you're never going to meet these people. And so now it's an opportunity to see somebody doing what you're doing in a different industry vertical, and a lot of cross-pollination of ideas. So it's tremendous growth and network opportunities, I think, for companies large and small, and for the connections, large company to large company and large company to small company.
Thanks, Bill. Deb, expanding on that, what's the value to an individual as they, participate in a team or a committee and get active within Tech Titans.
Well, it does, to Bill's point, it raises your bar. You're known for the people that you hang around with, right? And so I think we're a pretty good, trusting, respected group of people. And so if I'm hanging out and you're letting me hang out, I'm that by default, right? So it's building a community. We're building a community as a individual, whether you're happy where you're at today or you're starting to think about maybe I need to, replant myself a different company. Working inside of one of these committees can give you that opportunity to kind of get an insight. Let's say that, Bill brought up Toyota. We'll just bring Toyota up. Let's say that you want to work at Toyota. Well, there are opportunities to work alongside people who work for Toyota or work at State Farm or TI or some of these other great companies that we have. And you get a sense of what it would be like to work there. And is it an idealized sense that you thought it was going to be like really great to work there, or you find out that it's maybe it's not what you thought it was going to be, and maybe the startup community is where you need to be. So it allows you as if you're just starting your career or you're in early mid-career to take a look at what all is out there, what kind of companies are there, and what are the job opportunities. For people like me, it's just expanding my network and being able to call on folks when I need them, whether it's to speak at a tech industry launch or help with sponsorships. I started with Tech Titans on the nominations committee for the gala. And it's not for the faint of heart, because you're making cold calls to companies across North Texas, asking them to Stacy's point at the time, to nominate themselves for a award at the Metroplex Technology Business Council. And that got kind of hard to say after about 20 calls. But anyway, it's just a great way for people to get to know you, for you to up your own personal value beyond what you might be bringing with your name tag and the name of the company on it. For companies, it does the same thing. For our member companies, you're just upping your brand here. I'm sure there's a marketing term for it, that value or something like that, but you're being seen, in the community, you're being seen for good things. I'll just, Kathy's here from State Farm, and what State Farm has done to really create community engagement by sponsoring a lot of our STEM projects, or I was almost saying most of our STEM projects, including our student videos. It's just been phenomenal for them, and the goodwill they get back from that. And that goes for people who have, the companies that have sponsored golf tournaments, forums, the tech industry launch. Thank you, UT Dallas. Thank you, Pete Portman. And the gala, but that you're just getting great goodwill back from the community that you did that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Deb, I said that, I had moved to Dallas just prior to getting involved with Tech Titans. I love my AT&T work peers, but it's nice to be able to go to dinner with somebody and talk about technology things, but not talk about work. Right. Because we do, I think most of us who are in the tech industry do technology because we love technology. And so having that network of people that share a common desire to work in technology and is great. And I believe I'm a strong believer in the open source community in the software world. And part of that reason that I'm a proponent of that is because I think we're better together, and that's what we're trying to do with Tech Titans and our ecosystem, is build that ecosystem so that we can be better together. Stacy, following on
one other just to kind of follow on that, Amy, real quick. So when we're back in real life, and I'll just lay it out here, when we're back in real life, a lot of these forums take place and in a social event. So we have a forum late in the afternoon, and then it's happy hour somewhere, and it's so we come, we lunch. Well, we don't lunch and learn, but we come and we learn about what is innovative, what's going on, who's doing what, and then we break. And Andrea and Paul will find us a great place, a sponsor will have paid for drinks, or you have minimal cost, and you get to really know people. And the same thing with our tech industry lunch. We're back in real life. I tell people to come to Prestonwood, come for the pecan pie, and stay for the speaker.
Yes, very much so. I love that pecan pie. It's very good. And Deb, I was remiss earlier at not introducing Andrea and Paul. Andrea Young and Paul Bendel are our Tech Titans staff members that work with us in the programs and committees areas, and really are the foundation for helping us be able to do what we do. So thank you for everything that they do, that you do to help us. Let me go to Stacy, and you talked about some of the unexpected benefits that came within, after getting involved in Tech Titans. Would you share that story?
Oh, sure. There have been quite a few, but I think, as many of you probably guess, the more you put into something, the more you really get out of it. And I've been involved on the board and a couple of other things over the last several years, and I've had a chance to really get to know a lot of people in areas that I might not have known before, somewhat similar to what Bill had talked about. So not only have I developed new business contacts, but I've made a lot of new friends. And then from a whole unexpected side is my company I was working with was attacked. Russians attacked our website, holding us basically ransom. And it was disastrous for the company. I had never experienced that. I myself have no experience with cybersecurity. And so I came to the Tech Titans and said, who do we have on our board and people involved that have experience in this space? And Bill and Paul and some others, we threw out a couple names. I'm like, oh yes, of course, I got to know them. And we reached out only to Tech Titans members to submit proposals for us. We got outstanding service, solution fixed, and our entire infrastructure reinforced as a result of that. But had I not had these relationships here across these different technical expertises, I would have not had an idea where to go to find truly quality vendors. But also, one other thing, if you think about it, it's really in their best interest to care a lot about the results, because we are within the same community. You get a much better relationship with your vendors when there's really a lot at stake too. Not only are these people good people, really down to earth, friendly folks that I've had a chance to really develop offline personal friendships with, but working within your community like this, that's so experienced, you get a really good result in the relationship, because there's that added incentive for the relationships, the word of mouth within the community. But I hadn't anticipated, that aspect of it, but was really, really grateful with an excellent result. That's great.
I'm gonna switch up our order a little bit in our run of show. Just heads up, guys. I'm gonna go to Karthik. Karthik, we got to know each other. We had met previously, but we got to know each other working on the Innovation Collider. Can you tell us about the Innovation Collider and the work there, and how we got our grand challenge going last year, and some of that experience?
Sure. Thank you, Amy, and thank you for having me here. And Stacy, your story really resonates with a lot of the clients that we see for my firm now, Palo Alto Networks, right? So Innovation Collider and the Grand Challenge, I think, the inception was about a couple of years ago, where, we thought about the power of ecosystems, right? I mean, what makes a place a great ecosystem? What made the Bay Area what it is? What made some of the hubs like Israel for cybersecurity what it is? And a few data points stood out about the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. You've got about 10,000 plus headquarters over here. You have a fairly vibrant, technology talent pool. And you also have the right mix between old world tech that needs to evolve. You've got the brick and mortar companies, you've got federal companies, and you've got, people with, really cool technologies. You've got Ericsson, you've got AT&T, and you've got economies of scale. So why don't we put it all together and get these minds to collide, was the hypothesis. And the hardest thing being in the startup ecosystem is getting your minimum viable product or minimal lovable product, right? Getting that fit. And the Innovation Collider was a forum for people to come in, move, incubate, land, expand, and scale their ideas, convert it from an idea from a PowerPoint or a Google slide onto something that people would pay for, people would love and scale. So that was the genesis of how it started. And it was very interesting that, I got a lot of support with Amy, with Bill, with, folks at UTD, with my former employer, Ericsson, in actually putting pen to paper, right? I mean, I think it was Stacy who said this. It wasn't, people just coming in, meeting, talking, and going away. I mean, there's value in that, but it was people who actually sat down, took notes after the meeting, and made it a reality, right? And that culminated in our first grand challenge that we did. We got Mark Cuban in as, one of the people who judged the contest. So it wasn't just about the winner in that contest, right? It was more about all the participants. And personally, I'm still connected with some of them. And the very act of participating helped them vet and flesh their products out. It also brought in the interconnections between different forms of technology. So IPIL, a product that prevents you from overdosing and prevents you from having the opioid crisis, the solution for that, and the interconnect with something like 5G and how you actually monitor, track the entire pharma supply chain, right? Those kind of innovative concepts came in. So I would say personally, it's been very rewarding. I mean, as part of my new firm, Palo Alto Networks, moving from a 5G product company to a cybersecurity leader, right? I think there's a lot that we can do in the Tech Titans ecosystem here.
Thanks, Karthik. It has been a fun joy, and for those of you who know me, know that innovation and this ecosystem is a big part of what gets me excited about the DFW and North Texas area. I think we're seeing an influx of the exodus from Silicon Valley coming towards Texas with our favorable tax benefits and things. I think that it's something that we can become. What we want to be as part of Tech Titans is that organization. And the reason we were very intentional about creating the name Innovation Collider, because we believe that we want to be that ecosystem piece that makes those collisions happen between the people that have an idea and the people that have a solution. And how do we create that? And getting involved and building your network is one of those ways. Bill, what's the day in the life of a committee member? Talk to me about what it means to be a tri-chair or a committee member. What does that look like? Bill, I think you're muted.
There we go. I had unmuted, and it every once in a while just randomly mutes me back again. So, yeah, actually, just real quick to follow up on a lot of those value comments and the growth comments. Tech Titans is really an important part of the growth that we're seeing here in the DFW area, so that it is a community as opposed to a whole bunch of corporate silos showing up. And that continues to drive the growth. So I am the tri-chair on the artificial intelligence, one of the tri-chairs on the artificial intelligence committee. I'm just a committee member on the analytics and insights committee. And I'd really encourage you, if you look at the various committees and there's something you want to be involved in, just reach out to, somebody in Tech Titans. I think Paul and Andrew, I think we'll probably have some emails, addresses at the end of this, and say, hey, how can you connect me with this committee? and you can get connected with the committee just like that, and get on the invite list for the distribution. And if you've got experience in that space, if you don't, but you just are curious, everybody's welcome to come join these committees, and then you'll grow from there. And everybody's contribution is important. But yeah, so I find it's not an especially big time time commitment. It's as much as you want to put into it. But we're doing really a lot of good and a lot of really interesting things, and it allows you sort of deeper connections within the organization and interactions with other members. So that's but yeah, so it's mostly as they mentioned earlier, you're going to have a meeting once a week, or excuse me, once a month, and in those meetings you're going to be planning and saying, well, who knows who? Here's what we're trying to do. Have you got ideas of what we ought to be doing? Who do you know that might be a good speaker or might be a good panelist? And even if you don't know people, you're going to get to know people, and your ability to contribute is going to grow as you stay with the committee. And it's, the more people you kind of get to know, it always helps your career in general. So that's kind of my thoughts and contributions on it. I don't know, Amy, if there's any more specifics you'd like out of that.
No, that's great, and I agree. The more you put in, the more you get out of whatever you're doing. I think that's true in any part of our lives. I'm going to kind of transition to some Q&A time. You can use the chat to submit questions. I've got one in there right now that from Pat asking if you have specific questions about particular volunteer opportunities, how did you find out more? Deb or Andrea, you want to help me out with that question, with the answer there?
Yeah, the best ways, as Bill mentioned, is to get in touch with either Andrea or Paul, and their emails are extremely simple. It's andrea@techtitans.org or paul@techtitans.org.
I will also send a follow-up email. I will send a follow-up email after this event so that everyone will have a point of contact to reach out if you'd like to get involved in a particular committee or team.
I'll also point you to our website. On the website, there's a page with forums, and you can click on the forum. Each of the forums is listed. We also, I'd encourage you to sign up in email. If you go to the website, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter. That's an event, a calendar of events that comes to you I think it comes out on every Monday, I think. It gives you what's coming up and some of the things that the value to companies for being a member and the employees of the companies is really great, especially right now. As Deb mentioned, right now, most of our programs are free of charge as we're still helping struggle through the pandemic. One of the things that the innovation team is offering is Dr. David Ricketts from Harvard is teaching a master class in innovation. It's a series of classes. I think there's one more class in that series left. I may be wrong, but it's a great opportunity for you to sit and be in a classroom with a master teacher from Harvard talking about innovation. I've been in several of his classes and some all-day sessions with him, and really good thought leader. What other questions do you have? You can type them in the chat. You can unmute yourself and ask it live. We want this to be an engaging, interactive activity here.
It's just a quick question. In terms of there's certainly a lot of potential options for being able to engage. For those of us who maybe have kind of a generalist background or come from companies where we support a broad range of special interests, is there any indication in terms of areas that need participation, or that where there's certainly an interest, but you could use more volunteers or more subject matter experts?
I'm going to throw that question over to Paul because he has a greater handle on the pulse of these committees.
Thank you, Deb. Just about every one of those committees will always accept and want new members. It's just a matter of where you want to be involved. Some of the forum committees are really in need of members. Some have a few more than others. Some of the teams are well supplied with volunteers, but every one of those committees is going to want and welcome new committee members. So I think the key is finding where you want to join. What is your area that you think you really want to have an impact and learn more, and pick that. And if you go to a couple of meetings and it doesn't work out, that's not what you really wanted, we can always find one of the other committees to move you to. We'll find a place for you wherever you want.
Paul, I'd like to add something to that if I could. So, Marianne, I'm a technology generalist also. In fact, my firm is not technology at all, but what I found is I used the special interest forums to learn more about a particular area. I was on the blockchain and then on the cybersecurity forum, and I don't have expertise in either of those, but I wanted to learn more about it, and I was interested in meeting people in those areas. So that's kind of what I chose to do. And so I would suggest that don't necessarily think of being a generalist as a hindrance to participating. If you know people or want to participate and get to know people in an area, it's a great way to do that.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'd like to add to what everyone said. There's a unique value in being a generalist, which is being able to look at a problem from multiple dimensions. And I think that's a big contribution you can make to many of the folks who actually operate in a particular swim lane or a silo. So, yeah, Mary, you should think about that.
Solomon asked a question in the chat about the STEM areas. It seems a little different than the others. So our STEM area is really, we have had, and I don't remember the exact number, but I think we're approaching over 15,000 inspirations with students across the DFW area since the inception of the STEM program. One of the coolest things that I really was impressed with what the STEM team did last year, because what Dave Galley, who's our staff member, and Lisa Fry, who is the chair for that area, what they have done over the last few years is really work with the ISDs to create programs where we can go into the schools and work with the ISDs. And then when COVID shut everything down, that shut off our access to the students. And they came up, the committee really did a great job coming up with figuring out how to keep students engaged in thinking about STEM and also meeting physical needs of the students. And they created a STEM question. It was question of the week, I believe, initially, and it's now more of a question of the month. But what they did was created they got sponsorship from different companies, and they created a question challenge that they would put out to the students. And they targeted schools where there were many food insecure students, and really tried to meet, because as we all know, our schools provide sometimes 2 meals a day for kids who may have trouble getting 2 meals a day at home. And so what they were able to do was create this challenge where students would answer the STEM question of the week and then the winners of answering that would receive gift cards for grocery stores, so that they could then go help, provide food for their family and support their family. It was a really great program, still ongoing. And the sponsorship, I think, is about $1,000. And for that $1,000, $850 of it goes directly to the two kids, I believe, is the facts there. I may be misquoting that, but if somebody knows, if I'm wrong, please correct me if anybody knows on the call. But just a really good program. They've also branched into doing virtual programming, so that they can do have mentoring with students one-on-one or in group settings in a virtual setting. And the schools have been able to open up and let us do some different programs where we've been able to send kits to the schools and things like that, or kits to individual students. It's a great way if you're looking for some way just to you want somewhere to plug in and volunteer, but you don't want to just dig into a technology area. It's a great way to plug in and volunteer and help kids. There was a question about when we expect to have in-person events again, and Deb answered this, programming virtual through June. And do you want to talk about the new platform we've invested in, Deb? Okay, we've lost Deb's video, so maybe go ahead.
Unmute. There we go. Yeah, so we've invested in Remo, and if you were at the Thursday, the tech industry lunch in February, we used it then, and we are holding training classes. So if anybody's interested, let Andrea know, and she will hook you up with a training class.
That's awesome. Any other questions? Curtis, I thought you were raising your hand.
When we go to live
Okay, well,
program, when we go to live programs, will those be hybrid? And is the Reno platform good for that?
If I may jump in, yes. It's a good platform for hybrid presentations, and we will be doing them hybrid. We are planning that as we speak.
We're getting close to the end of our time. We've got, one of the things that Tech Titans, like I've talked about before, we're trying to create an ecosystem. We partner very closely with the Richardson Chamber of Commerce, and our staffers, actually, many of them play two roles, working for both. And some of the things, one of the benefits there is we have access to programming and parts of the Richardson Chamber as Tech Titans members. And Lawrence Horworth is on today, and he serves as the Director of International Business for the Chamber. And he's going to tell us about a new opportunity that they've created, a new resource center. If you could give us just an overview of that. And just another way where you have access to things as Tech Titans members.
Sure. We've got an International Business Resource Committee and Center, and the idea is to support international efforts, whether it's procurement, supply chain, international supply chain, international business development, especially the younger companies that are trying to expand into other markets. So we've developed resources that are available to the Tech Titans group. And so to the extent that that's useful in some of your different companies, by all means, contact us and we'll be more than happy to help.
Thanks, Lawrence. So as we wrap up here, I want to thank our panelists and thank those involved committee members and tri-chairs that are on the call and have chimed in and provided insights. As Andrea said, she's going to send out an email afterwards. It'll have contact information. We've put some links up in the chat for the website and the calendar of events. Andrea, did you have a slide on the an updated calendar of events? I don't recall if we do or not. If we don't, that's fine. I know we have it on our website.
I think, Paul, do you have that?
I'm trying to load it right now.
And you can also follow
and
Tech Titans. Follow Tech Titans on LinkedIn and also on Twitter, and you'll get all the latest information of what we're programming.
Exactly. And while Paul's putting that up, there's a question in the chat about, can you talk a little bit more about the Chamber and Tech Titans, and are they separate organizations? Yes, we are separate organizations. Tech Titans started out of the Richardson Chamber of Commerce, and we share some common resources, but we have separate books. We have separate 501c3s, but we work very closely together. But we are separate organizations. Calendar events is up there. It's a little bit of an eye test, but we will get this out in the packet that comes to you in the email. And as Deb said, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Twitter, we have our website. If any questions, reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. If you got questions, you want to message me in LinkedIn, feel free. I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter, actually, so either one. But really hope that you'll consider participating and be a committee member and expanding your network of people. Thank you again for your time this morning. Thank you to the panelists. Did we have one last slide, Andrea, or are we good?
It's just my contact information. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I hope you all have a great Friday. When we were starting the call, are the smiles for morning or for Friday? I know for me, it's for Friday. I'm glad for a Friday. Looking forward to the weekend.